If you've spent any time watching Matt's off-road recovery, then Katelynn Boren is already a familiar face. But what makes her interesting isn't just that she's on the channel, it's how naturally she became part of it, and how quickly people started paying attention without her ever trying to demand it. There's no forced personality, no over-the-top presence. She fits into the work, and that's what makes her stand out. Her story doesn't begin with YouTube. It starts much earlier, in Hurricane, Utah, where off-roading wasn't something she picked up later in life. It was something she grew into. Her father, Kevin Boren, had years of experience working on rigs, competing in rock crawling, and dealing with terrain that requires both skill and patience. Growing up around that environment meant she was constantly exposed to how things worked. She wasn't just watching from the sidelines. She was around the tools, the builds, the breakdowns, and the problem-solving that comes with it. Over time, that exposure turned into understanding. By the time she was still a kid, she was already learning how to handle a rock crawler. Not in a casual way, but in controlled situations where every movement mattered. She learned how vehicles react on uneven ground, how to approach obstacles without rushing, and how to stay calm when things don't go as planned. Those lessons weren't theoretical. They came from repetition and real experience. That early foundation made a difference later, because when she stepped into more serious situations, she wasn't starting from zero. As she got older, that experience turned into competition. She didn't wait until everything felt easy. She entered events while still young, and went up against drivers who had far more years behind them. Instead of being overwhelmed, she adapted. She paid attention to how others approached obstacles, adjusted her own technique, and improved with every run. Progress came gradually, not through shortcuts but through consistency. That process led to one of her biggest early achievements when she tied for first place at the WE Rock Grand Nationals in 2022. It wasn't just a result to talk about. It showed that she could perform at a high level in a competitive setting. The following year, she entered the Pro Mod Series, continuing that progression and showing that her performance wasn't a one-time moment. She was building something long-term. That same ability is what eventually brought her into Matt's off-road recovery. Around the time she started appearing, the channel was already well established, but there had also been a change. Lizzie, who had been a consistent and well-liked part of the team, stepped away to focus on ranch life. Viewers noticed that absence, and naturally, there was curiosity about who would step into that space. When Caitlyn came in, there were expectations. But instead of trying to match what came before, she approached things in her own way. She focused on the work, learned how the team operated, and gradually became more involved. Over time, it stopped feeling like a replacement and started feeling like a continuation with a different dynamic. She wasn't there to fill a role left behind. She was there to add her own contribution. Recovery work is unpredictable by nature. Every situation is different, and there's no fixed way to handle everything. Terrain changes, vehicles behave differently, and decisions often have to be made in real time. It requires awareness, coordination, and the ability to stay clear-headed under pressure. That's where she fit in. Whether she was driving, spotting, or helping with rigging, she showed a steady approach. Not rushed, not hesitant, just focused on what needed to be done. As her presence on the channel grew, her role became more consistent. She wasn't just appearing occasionally anymore. She was becoming someone the team could rely on. Recoveries often involve more than just pulling a vehicle out. They require planning the approach, setting up the right equipment, and making sure everything is done safely. Over time, she became part of that entire process. A lot of that development happened off camera. Time in the garage, learning how rigs are maintained, understanding how equipment works. Those things don't always show up in videos, but they matter. That behind-the-scenes experience added to her confidence on the trail. It's one thing to drive. It's another to understand what's happening mechanically and how to respond if something goes wrong. As more viewers started noticing her, attention naturally expanded beyond her work. Like it happens with most people who become visible online, people became curious about her personal life. One topic that keeps coming up is her dating life. Fans often ask if she's in a relationship, who she might be seeing, or if there's something she hasn't shared. The answer, based on what is publicly known, is simple. There is no confirmed information about her being in a relationship. She hasn't shared anything that clearly indicates she is dating someone, and there aren't consistent hints across her social media either. Most of the discussion around this topic comes from speculation, rather than actual confirmation. That doesn't necessarily mean there's nothing there. It just means she has chosen to keep that part of her life private. In a space where many people share everything, that choice stands out. Instead of making her personal life part of her public image, she keeps the focus on her work and her progress. That boundary has remained consistent. Whether she is single or simply prefers to keep relationships out of the spotlight, the result is the same. There's no confirmed relationship, and no clear indication that she plans to make that part of her life public anytime soon. While fans continue to speculate about that, another part of her life has been developing alongside everything else. She has been working toward becoming a pilot. This is a completely different path, but it reflects a similar mindset. It requires discipline, focus, and the ability to stay composed in situations where precision matters. Learning to fly involves understanding systems, following procedures, and making decisions that have real consequences. Even though it's different from off-roading, there is a connection in how she approaches both. In each case, it comes down to awareness, control, and staying calm under pressure. She has shared parts of her flight training, showing that it's something she is actively working on. It's not just an idea or something for the future. It's a goal she is currently pursuing. Balancing that with her role on the recovery team isn't easy. It requires time management and a clear commitment to both. That balance is also one of the reasons people have started wondering about her future with Matt's off-road recovery. When someone appears less frequently or seems to have a changing schedule, rumors tend to follow. In her case, those rumors focus on whether she might be leaving the channel. There is no solid evidence to support that idea. She is still part of the team, still involved in recoveries, and still appears in videos. The difference is that she is balancing multiple commitments, which naturally affects how often she shows up. Less screen time doesn't automatically mean she is leaving. It usually means she is managing her time between different priorities. From everything that can be seen, she remains connected to the team and continues to contribute when she is available. There has been no confirmed announcement or indication that she plans to step away. Looking at her journey as a whole, it follows a steady path. She started with early exposure to off-roading, built her skills through practice, and proved herself in competition before stepping into real recovery work. At the same time, she hasn't let attention change her direction. She keeps her personal life private, stays focused on her work, and continues working toward becoming a pilot. Her progress is consistent. From learning as a kid to competing, joining a recovery team, and now flying, each step connects naturally. That's what defines her right now. Not rumors or speculation, but steady growth. She remains part of Matt's off-road recovery, continues her pilot training, and keeps her personal life out of the spotlight.